Have you ever noticed them, the people who are always there in our digital lives? They're scrolling, they're watching, they're observing, but they almost never post. In a world that just seems to reward noise and display, their silence is this kind of quiet mystery. So let's explore the psychology behind those who choose to remain unseen. And that idea really gets to the heart of it, doesn't it? It suggests that this digital silence isn't an absence of something, but a very deliberate and actually pretty powerful form of presence. It's a choice to define yourself outside the constant gaze of other people. Okay, so let's start with this figure, the unseen observer. Who are they, really? And what's going on psychologically that motivates this quiet form of participation? Now, the easy answer is just, oh, they're shy or they're introverted. But, something much deeper is often at play. This question really goes to the heart of our relationship with ourselves and with these digital spaces we all live in now. See, choosing not to post isn't necessarily about withdrawing from society. For a lot of people, it's actually a way of protecting their own reality. It's a refusal to boil down a complex, messy life into a series of perfectly curated highlights. It becomes its own form of quiet rebellion. And this leads us to a really core psychological concept, this separation we create between our performed digital self, what we could call our persona, and our more authentic inner self. We can call this process identity crafting. And it's not just about sharing what's going on, it's a performance. Every post, every filter, every carefully chosen caption can become part of this unconscious audition where we're constantly seeking approval and validation just to feel like we belong. This table really lays out the contrast pretty clearly. On one side, you've got the performed persona, totally driven by external validation, by digital applause. And on the other, the authentic self, which is more focused on internal understanding. The really crucial point here is that when our sense of worth comes from within, what psychologists call an internal locus of control, that need to perform for everybody else just starts to fade. And this reflects a totally different way of being. Instead of trying to prove who they are online, the focus shifts to understanding who they are offline. Their sense of self just becomes way less dependent on that external feedback loop of social media. But what happens when we lean too heavily on that digital persona? Well, this brings us to the concept of the unposted shadow, all the parts of ourselves and our lives that we kind of push aside because they don't fit that perfect curated story. Psychologists have a name for this: self-presentational pressure. It's that subtle but totally exhausting feeling that you're always on stage. And this anxiety, it drives the need to perform perfectly, and it creates this fear of judgment, which paradoxically can lead some people to just withdraw completely. The cost of being visible just starts to feel too high. And that cost is real. It often leads to a kind of emotional burnout. You feel like you're no longer living your life, you're just managing a brand. And this can lead to a loss of what's called psychological ownership, that deep down feeling that your experiences and memories truly belong to you, not to an audience. This quote just captures the whole essence of that unposted shadow. When you step back from performing, you get to reclaim all the parts of your life, the messy parts, the complicated parts, the beautiful parts. You stop editing and you just start living again. And these are the parts that build real character, but they rarely make it to the feed. So, stepping away from the performance isn't just about an escape. For many people, it's actually a return. It's a quiet homecoming to a more integrated, authentic self. And this path, it really begins with that simple decision to stop performing. From there, you can start to truly experience moments for what they are, to rebuild connections that don't need digital proof, and then finally, you can start to hear your own inner voice again, free from the constant noise of what everyone else expects. So this is the crucial point, a really powerful redefinition. We've kind of been conditioned to see privacy as a form of isolation, as loneliness, but in this frame, it's a necessary space for self-connection. It's the prerequisite for understanding who you actually are when nobody is watching. And this brings us to the central insight of this whole exploration. The digital stage is where identity is often performed, but the quiet, private, unposted moments, that's where it's truly formed. It's in this unseen growth that our most authentic self really emerges. Let's just pause on that question for a second. That reflex we have to document and display everything, it's not natural. It's something we've learned. Resisting it can actually allow the experience to remain purely yours, and in doing so, deepen its meaning and your ownership of it. And here's a deeper question. Think about your unedited thoughts, your spontaneous humor, your quiet vulnerabilities. These are so often the parts that make up your whole self, and they don't thrive in the spotlight. They thrive in the trusted, quiet space of your own presence. So you see, the silence of the unseen observer isn't empty at all. It's full of depth and meaning and a quiet confidence. It's a good reminder that being unseen is not the same thing as being insignificant. If you found this reflection valuable, your engagement helps others discover this quiet space for thought. Thank you for your time.